Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Scottish Football Live. It is Monday the 24th of May. We are almost at the end of the domestic season. We're off the back of a cup final at the weekend. We've got a Premiership playoff tonight. We've got managers flying about everywhere. And we've got a Euros to prepare for. I've got Kieran and Ryan with me. Ryan, you were almost late. Would you like to explain yourself? You're the reason we're a minute late.
Yeah, I was stuffing my face with my dinner. It was either then or doing it after. But I was trying to time it so that I could get there back on time. But no, I was a wee bit late, so I can only apologise to the viewers.
All right, it's all right. We'll let you off. Kieran, how you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm all right. Just a 2-day hangover things, innit?
I know. Kieran was saying to me before we came on air, can't remember anything about that cup final at the weekend, but I think that's down to the fact it wasn't a very memorable game. But we're going to have to touch on it. First of all, called it weeks ago before they played Rangers. They won a double. They went and did it. Unbelievable achievement. I mean, you kind of run out of superlatives what to say about this. Every time I think about it, Ryan, it's even more mental. The fact that St Johnstone have won a cup double is absolutely fucking barmy. I can't get my head around it.
I know. It's absolutely mental. It's mental for the other results around the leagues as well. It truly has been a mental year for football. But got to say congratulations to Callum Davidson and his men. They were brilliant on the day. They were the only team that turned up, you could say, out the two of them, and they deserve to win. Sean Rooney again with another goal in a final. He likes his big occasions.
Yeah, 32nd minute, Kieran, in both cup finals, he scored the winner. That is just like, that is freaky.
I know that's really weird, but I mean, he's popped up twice with the two big goals to cement himself as one of the biggest legends in St Johnstone's history. Because I mean, what is it? Only 3 major trophies in their history. And they've won all 3 of them in the last 7 years, which is nuts. And for 2 to come in the one season, I mean, what an achievement. You really can't overstate it.
It's mental because obviously Tommy Wright did such a good job there. Was so widely praised by everyone. And I think that a lot of people said that Callum Davidson's got he's got big shoes to fill, Ryan, and he's gone in there and in one season become the greatest manager in their history. I mean, it's absolutely just mental what's happened to them and him. Because he exceeded everyone's expectations, didn't he?
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I expected them to go down this season. I actually predicted that at the start of the season. I said I think they're going to struggle without Tommy Wright. Tommy Wright's been so ingrained into the amount of success they've had over the past 7-8 years. But he's done incredibly well. 5th place plus 2 trophies. Mm-hmm. I mean, surely he's got to be manager of the year. Surely they've got to change that format for next season. If a manager can go and win 2 trophies in top half.
I think that the manager of the year debate is kind of been done to death over the weekend. But one thing that I think everyone's got to agree on is, Kieran, it's an absolute shower of shit that the manager of the year award is done before things can be decided. You know, we could have been in a situation where there was 2 teams still going for the title after that, still a cup to play for. It's mental that was even up for grabs. But I mean, Callum Davidson's stock now is as high as anyone. Any job that comes up now in Scotland above St Johnstone, he will be linked with, and they will do everything to try and keep hold of him.
I know he'll deserve to be linked to all these jobs that will inevitably come up, because I mean, for him to do that in the first season, I mean, I'm not going to sit and say that the football he plays like silky stuff, but I'm meaning like he knows what they're good at, and they've played up to their strengths to a T, and they've won games just by being I'd imagine the squad unity in that team must be off the charts, man, because to go and do that together like with a group of boys, and I mean, Sean Rooney was playing for Inverness last year. Yeah. To come up and then now he's doing he's went and led St Johnstone to 2 the Scottish Cup and the League Cup. It's just nuts, man. If you told me this at the start of the season, I would never have believed you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we'll come on to the game itself, McGinley. It wasn't a vintage cup final. It was definitely a game that you could feel there was a tension there. Hibs were, I mean, we'll talk about Hibs in a minute, but they were absolutely awful. St Johnstone, I think, I said it to Kieran when I saw him on Saturday. Once St Johnstone went 1-0 up, Ryan, I was in no doubt they were winning that game. No doubt at all.
Yeah, they've been in that position before. They were holding on to a lead. They done really well. I caught up with the highlights a couple of days ago. I wasn't watching live for whatever reason. I was watching the Brentford game actually, and I watched bits and bobs of the second game. But no, all credit to St Johnstone. They totally deserved their win. They were the only team that turned up at the end of the day. I mean, for all the possession that Hibs had, they couldn't really muster anything in front of goal. So
yeah. And it's very disappointing. Sorry,
It's a big disappointment for Jack Ross. That's 3 finals he's been in now, and he's not won any of them. So that sort of question mark will be over his head for sure.
Well, I mean, I saw on Sunday night, Kieran, a poll on some Hibs Twitter page asking if they want Jack Ross to be sacked, which is kind of mad when you think about, what he's done this year. But there is serious discontent there, and there's no doubt. I mean, the Hibs players absolutely shat it. They let him down again completely. You can blame the manager, but none of them turned up at the weekend. I can't think of one player in that Hibs team that I thought had a really good game, and that's not acceptable in a cup final.
No, it's shambolic. But I mean, I said in the group chat, is that if you turn up to a cup final, like Jack Ross did, dressed as Mr. Rogers with that green cardigan on, you deserve to lose it. So, but no, I don't know, because I think his saving grace will be the fact they finished third. If they finished fourth, then I think there'd be serious. Like, I think you'd have a bit more reason to go out and try and shout for his head on a spike. But I don't know. He's really, who do you get in his place? But who do you replace him with at Hibs?
I know, but this is the thing, though. I mean, Hibs finishing third is not like it's a given. It's not like it's something that happens every year. And where they were before he came in, they were rock bottom. This is Hibs who have been in the Championship for 3 years of the last decade, which is just mental. So it's going to be a tough one. He's going to need to have a look at some of the character of the players in his squad, because the character's got to be questioned. I've read about Kevin Nisbet, but he was non-existent at the weekend, as was Doidge. I thought Martin Boyle was pretty poor as well. All over the park, they really struggled. And the big battle, I think, that kind of decided the game, because it was obvious for the goal, McGinley, was Rooney beating Doig in the air at the back post.
Yeah, Sean Rooney's so good in the air. He seems to pop up in the big moments across the season. All credit to him. There's one bit of quality in the game. Yeah, I'd probably agree with that comment as well. To be fair, Toljan was terrible.
Toljan.
Toljan.
We've got
he's just down south, never mind Germany.
Just looking at the comments, he's back, boys. He's back.
Button boy.
Burton Boy's back.
Button boy.
For somebody who hates Scott Schutel so much, he spends a lot of time watching shows with it on YouTube. But we'll take the views, mate. Thanks.
Can't complain. He tunes in at the end of the day.
Dev makes an interesting point about Martin Boyle and the dive, and Kieran, I don't know if you saw that one at the end of the game, but it is absolute desperation. He's run out of ideas. He's just thrown himself to the ground on the off chance he gets a penalty, but that summed up his afternoon as well, because he was really quiet.
I did see it. It was a shocking attempt to try and get a penalty in the last few minutes. Luckily, the ref seen it for what it was. But I mean, I've seen, obviously I've not watched Hibs an awful lot this season, but in terms of any time I've watched the highlights, the comments are usually full about people complaining about Martin Boyle diving, and it must obviously I've not seen it enough to try and make a comment on it, but for what I've seen about other people commenting on it, as if it's been this huge problem this season with him constantly doing it. But I mean, I'm not going to go out and say none of the Celtic players dive. I'm going to try and take a moral high ground on it, but it was pretty poor.
Yeah, it's poor. It's absolutely poor. But if you're a Hibs fan and he wins a penalty there, he's a hero. So it's one of those. The diving thing is a conversation that can go on for days and days. Another couple of bits and pieces from the game itself. David Wallace was man of the match. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. The goal, though, I mean, Alex Gogic sells himself horrendously short, McGinley. It's like the most pathetic attempt at stopping a cross ever. He just dives in. And, the one thing with David Wallace is, he's got great delivery from the wide areas, and the amount of time and space he had in that area was unbelievable, and his quality shone through when it mattered.
Yeah, absolutely. The Gogic did terrible for that goal. But it was a great cross in by Witherspoon and a good finish as well. There was one bit of quality in that game, and it paid off for St Johnstone definitely at the end of the day. Thoroughly deserved, I would say.
Did you see did anybody see his post-match interview? It was very good. He did it was a proper Ryan Christie post-Serbia interview. Like he was greeting pretty much halfway through it. He swore at the start of it. It was just absolutely fantastic. You can see what it means to him. He's been there for so long. Yeah.
He's a big St Johnstone fan as well, so it will mean a lot to him. He's been a part of St Johnstone's best ever performances, you would say, in their history. So that'll be close to him as well, as he's a St Johnstone fan, so he'll be buzzing with that.
Yeah, I noticed that Jason Kerr, St Johnstone captain, Kieran's a Hibs fan, which is very interesting. These dynamics, how they work, is kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, St Johnstone. Listen, we'll talk about them a lot more this week. I think Callum Davidson will get a lot of talk. They asked David Wallacepoon post-match, how do you go again after that? But what if you're St Johnstone now? How can you go again next season, Kieran, and try and get anything near this kind of a season?
I think the fans will be a bit forgiven for the next couple of years, that they're not going to be able to emulate this success. I mean, I don't think anybody can expect to Nake team out with the Old Firm would have dreamt of having a season like this. I mean, when was the last time this happened? Was it 1990 or something?
Aberdeen, I think, yeah.
But for something like this to happen, especially St Johnstone, who a lot of people had written off at the start of the season, like, I don't know, I think the fans will be a bit more forgiving after the success they've had this year. But I mean, I think they've got a wee bit of a free pass next year.
Adam's kept this very quiet. He went to school with Jason Kerr and he used to get terrorised by him. Rightly so, Adam. Just a wee story about Adam. I'm going to slag him off on air because he's not on the show. I tried to do a post-match reaction, but Adam was too scared of Hibs winning the cup to say he would do it. So that, people in the chat slag him off for that because he deserves it. We've got Fitzbeen happening in the comments section there. Beans is probably still hungover as well from the weekend, like Kieran is. So an interesting one. McGinley, would you care to reply?
I was too young for Lev, unfortunately. It was an old nightclub in Coatbridge. I didn't bless the place with my presence there. I was there. The name change, they changed their name a couple of years after, and I was there when I was 18, but I was never there at level 2.
If we're going to do conversations about you nightclubs, that'll have to be saved for TSF After Dark, I think. That can't happen at 6 o'clock.
After the watershed, definitely, mate. It's been an eventful life for young McGinley.
That's one for Twitter Spaces. Big Barton fans in here, because he's commenting so much, I'll highlight him again. I actually think this isn't the flex he thinks it is, because a lot of Celtic fans will probably fucking agree with him, which is the sad thing. But anyway, we'll move on. Where are we going to go next? Let's go to tonight's game. Obviously, the game on Friday night between Killie and Dundee. It was Thursday night, wasn't it? Dundee were the much better team. We said it. I think that... Was it you two that was on the show with me on Friday?
I think so.
No, wait. It might have been. I can't remember. Anyway, but Dundee won the game, but Killie were absolutely awful. That game, the second leg tonight, Dundee have a 2-1 advantage. I've said since that was a magic result for Killie, because they were so bad, Ryan, that to get only a goal deficit at the home leg to come is kind of it's about as good as they could have got from that performance on Thursday. So what do you expect tonight?
Yeah, I was talking to a Killie fan the other day, and they said it could have been 4 or 5 quite easily. So they were quite happy with the 2-1 defeat. I mean, obviously they're taking a goal back to their home ground. There's only one goal in it, so they've definitely got a chance to get back into the tie. They've got to just treat it as a separate game, just try and go all out for the win. I've got to say my fingers are crossed for Dundee. I hate plastic pitches. I want them away from Scottish football as a whole. I know they can be a good sort of generator of money for teams like Livingston and that, but nah, they're not for me. I just hope that Dundee do the business tonight.
Have you seen the state of Dundee's pitch though? You sure you want that in the Premiership? It's shocking.
I mean,
you don't have to worry about Joseph Simunovic's knees anymore though. These days are past, Ryan. I wouldn't worry about it. Kieran, what do you think tonight?
He's still not got a club.
No, I know it's mental. Tonight it's going to be Killie need to improve. They're not going to be any worse, and you'd imagine Lafferty will step it up tonight. But it's going to be one of those. Dundee are going to be able to play on the break, and that might suit them tonight.
I know. I don't know. I think it's just Killie getting that goal. I think that might be their saving grace, because taking them back to Rugby Park on the plastic, I don't know. I've got a feeling they might be able to do it, but then again, I think every single person that I've predicted to win on the live shows it's went the other way. So I'm thinking, I don't know. I'll say I think Killie might do the business tonight, but I think it'll be Adams saying Kyle Lafferty hat-trick inbound.
Well,
I don't know.
I'm going to interrupt you, Kieran, really quickly, because there is some breaking news, and Cam McFarlane has alluded to it. And Daily Record are reporting that Mickey Mellon is set to leave Dundee United in an amicable split after one season. So we said today, the title of this live show is we're going to talk about managerial vacancies, and now we have another one potentially in the Scottish Premiership. It was rumoured about a month ago that he was there was a club interested in coming for him. Then it seemed to be that he was going to be staying. And wow, I mean, there are now so many big jobs available in Scotland this summer, and a summer that's got a European Championships in it as well. McGinley, your initial reaction to that?
I'm not really surprised, because I've heard it's been on and off for the past month or so. It's definitely an attractive job for a sort of younger manager to go into. They've got quite a good core of young players coming through. I know they're sort of focusing on that now. They're trying to play the younger players over the next couple of years. So it'll be interesting to see who they get in. I mean, Mickey Mellon, he got them. What was their place? Was it 7th or 8th they got in the league?
Yeah, I can't remember. I think it might have been 8th.
So, I mean, at least they weren't in relegation bother towards the end of the season. But at the same time, they would have been quite disappointed. I think they would have wanted a top 6 place to consolidate their season, the first season back.
Yeah, Kieran, it's been a bit of a damp squib from United this season. I know they were newly promoted, but they've kind of flattered to receive a good bit. And I did say, I think a few weeks ago on a podcast that, it might not be the worst time for both parties. United have still got a decent squad there. Something fresh might do the business for them this summer.
I know, because when you look at the squad, there's some decent players in it that you thought might have, they would have performed a lot better this year. Main culprit being Shankland. They'd have obviously expected a bit more for him, but in terms of, I think I might have predicted them for about 6th place. I think I thought they were going to get the top half finish, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they had a bit of a free hit this year as long as they weren't in a relegation scrap. Because of how many years they had spent, I think they were more than happy to have quite a comfortable season where they're not getting dragged into any real relegation scraps and they're not expecting too much of the team. But I think if they can get a decent manager in, then, I don't know, with the squad they've got some decent improvements, I think they could maybe try and push for a top 6 next year.
Yeah, it's an attractive job as well. They're a big club, Dundee United, and they're no longer languishing in the Championship like they were for so long. And also, while we've been on there, the Barry Ferguson news, which you knew about, has been confirmed by Killie Hearts. They've announced that Barry Ferguson is leaving. We'll move on. Well, I want to quickly go back to the Killie Dundee game before we go into full speed to managers, because that can take up the rest of the show. I think Dundee are going to go up tonight. I'm going to say Dundee are going to win tonight. I think it'll be one of those. Killie are probably coming out the traps. They get done in the break. I'm going to say 2-1 to Dundee again tonight for me. McGinley, your score prediction?
I'm going to go 3-1 Dundee. I think Cummins is going to score a couple of goals and maybe Charlie Adam with another goal.
Look at this. I'm going to state this comment. I can't believe that.
No. I think it's him that commented earlier saying Kieran dived head first into a gale force wind with his comb over, and I was laughing away to myself. I was like,
I was laughing at that as well.
I missed that one. I was too busy looking at Mad Steve getting raging. Right, Kieran, your score prediction for tonight?
I don't know, because I have said Killie are going to do it, but I don't know. Maybe a wee 2-1. No, about the 2-1, would that take it to extra time?
Yeah.
And then I would go for that 2-1 to Killie, and then a wee penalties win for Killie.
Okay, interesting.
I do love a wee penalty shooter.
As long as it's right, okay, so let's get back onto the manager grind, because there's so much happening. I suppose we have to do John Hughes first, because that one came out early on today, Premiership job. Ryan, a lot of people are saying they're shocked by this. I'm not entirely sure I'm shocked. I think that, he came in within, the brief was he's got to keep them up. He's done a brilliant job. He's kept them in the division. If I'm a club and I'm looking about moving a club forward, I'm not really sure John Hughes is the manager for that. So, and it sounds like he's got his sights set on another job based on the statement tonight. What were your initial thoughts to that one, McGinley?
I mean, I was surprised at the start when it came out, but looking more and more into it, including with what Roy McGregor was saying, he was saying that it's going to be a new era for Ross County. They might want a young manager in to sort of bring through youngsters in the team and get sort of moving up the table. I know they're quite an ambitious club. I know Roy McGregor puts a lot of his own money into the club, so maybe they're going to get someone younger. And maybe Britton could take over as the manager. I know he was the assistant manager. So they might have been prepping him up to become manager. Either that or they can bring somebody else in. I don't know. I'm sure there's going to be loads of rumours over the next couple of days with new managers, because there's plenty of jobs available.
Yeah, absolutely. Kieran, I have to be honest, I was surprised that he managed to keep County up. I thought County were in a big bit of trouble. Did a brilliant job there. It started really well, because obviously he had the great result against Celtic. I think he beat Hibs as well. But early on in his tenure, they were struggling to beat the teams around them. Eventually, they solved that, and he did a great job. So Ross County are going to be grateful to him for that, I suppose.
I mean, he came in and he done what was expected of him. He kept them up. Might not have done it in the prettiest fashions, but I mean, he got the job done. And I don't know if anybody had any real expectations of him staying beyond this season. It seemed like it was more of a quick fix appointment instead of planning for the long term. I don't know who's going to come in and place him, but in terms of his next move, what was it? People maybe link him back to Inverness and Falkirk and all these.
Well, yeah.
But I don't know. Depends where he wants to go. But I didn't really expect too much from him.
He's straight in a second favourite for the Fairman job with the bookies, so that tells you everything you need to know. I think the bookies are pretty much stabbing in the dark with these selections just now, because there's no real news coming out there. Dunfermline and Falkirk, 2 jobs that are available. Inverness as well is an interesting one. Obviously won the cup at Inverness, so I don't really know what he would have to achieve at Inverness. I'm just quickly going to actually get the McBookie odds up, see if they've got offerings on this yet. They've got Billy Dodds as favourite for the Inverness job, which is an interesting one. John Hughes also second favourite for that job. So no doubt, as he always is, linked with every job under the sun, McGinley. But if you're John Hughes, Falkirk, Dunfermline and Inverness, any of them, he'd probably be very happy with, I would have thought.
Yeah, I think his stock's really high at the moment, obviously, with what he's done at Ross County. I wouldn't say sort of take his pick, but he'll definitely have a couple of interviews lined up with a couple of these teams if they are interested, if the feeling's mutual between the two of them. I think he still will stay in Scotland. I think he'll have a job next season somewhere.
It's an interesting. So
I actually did see that rumour earlier as well, though. I actually did see that rumour about the Celtic Colts as well, and I think that would make sense as well.
Well, I was just going to say that. I think that would make a lot of sense because the whole Colts thing is designed for those youngsters to go and play men's football. And, you know, who better for a crash course in like proper tough football than John Hughes? And obviously, Celtic connections. It's an out-the-box shout, Kieran, but, there's maybe a slight bit of logic to it.
I know, it might have been an eyebrow raiser when you first see it, but the more you think about it, like, it does, as you are saying, it does kind of make a bit of sense because if you're going to be, especially going into the Lowland League, you're going to be playing your proper rugged football and that, and obviously he is quite the master in getting people up for stuff like that. So I don't know if that's the sort of route that the Colts will want to go down, but it's certainly an option, and it's what Jenky would take it.
I mean, probably. I mean, the statement that Ross County released said he was looking at other options in football. It didn't specify, that he was going straight for a managerial gig. But I mean, it does sound to me like he's got his eye on something. So, I mean, maybe, who knows? McGinley, any other thoughts on that? I feel like I cut you off a wee bit there when you were to go on a wee John Hughes tangent.
I feel like if he was to go back to Celtic in any capacity, he would lap it up because he's Celtic daft. He is absolutely crazy about Celtic.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that happening. I think he would love that, being a sort of developing the next generation coming through, and hopefully Celtic would see the benefits of that, having a sort of established name in charge of the development team.
Yeah. Adam Kennedy saying Yogi's surely bigger than Celtic Colts. Well, here's my thing with this. At this stage in his career, I mean, where is he going to go and do more than what he's done? Like, I mean, he's won a Scottish Cup, Inverness. He's I mean, unless he just becomes Sam Allardyce, Kieran, that is the only thing I can think. Is he going to become?
He's just waiting a bit until teams are in. Just waits a bit until teams are in dire straits. Now,
December, he'll just start doing sports sound on a Wednesday night and putting his name out there.
He just logs on his LinkedIn in December when the team that are like 11 for 12. Like, I'm ready and waiting, guys.
That's the thing as well. If he takes the coach job, we can hang about with what was it, Leo Chielda, called the next Van Dijk, so we can try and mould him into the next superstar if he goes there. So
he'll
be playing for Eddie Howe next season.
Potentially. I suppose we'll come on to him at the end because, again, you can't talk about a Scottish football show without talking about Eddie Howe. But Barry Ferguson, we'll come back to him. Sounds like he's going to Alloa, which is, it's an interesting move. I think that, listen, I spoke to someone today who knows a little bit more than I do, and he reckoned that Barry Ferguson was a bit pissed off because he was, it was intimated to him that if Kiltie didn't get promoted, he was for the chop. So he was pretty much, a little bit annoyed at that. I'm not sure. This might sound a bit mad, right? But if I'm looking at the Alloa job and the Kiltie job about what's, for next season anyway, the most enticing job, I'm not convinced it's Alloa. And the reason I say that is because you look at what Cove have done when they came up. Kiltie are going to do the same. They're going to invest. They've already got a squad that's, I think, probably too good for League Two. They're very much in a forward trajectory. Going to Alloa is going to be a tough one, Ryan, because they've just been relegated after a big spell in the Championship. It's not like they're going to have money to throw at it. It's an interesting one for him.
It probably is more enticing if he was to stay at Kiltie because they're the sort of new kids on the block in League Two, a new face in the league. I know we had that with Cove Rangers as well the past couple of years, in Edinburgh City as well. It would have been. He's going to bring headlines wherever he goes because he's a name. He's a big name in Glasgow and in Scotland, wherever he goes. But it's going to be interesting in League Two with Kiltie Hearts. I think I'm surprised he left. I'll be perfectly honest. But if he was raging with the board, then I suppose he's better to go when his stock's high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kieran, no doubt you'll be wishing him well wherever he goes.
Oh, aye.
Yeah.
Barry Ferguson.
Brilliant.
But, in terms of what you're saying, I think it's I agree. I think it's very an enticing opportunity if you've got this new team in League Two. I think I'd much rather that than manage Alloa. I know you're taking a step up in leagues, but I think it just seems like a more exciting prospect. I feel like there's a lot more on the line, but if you stay at that, because it could go very wrong, but I doubt it.
if Alloa were still in the Championship, I could understand it. But you're there. I mean, the Alloa job could go very wrong. You're still going to have Falkirk are going to invest. Airdrie want to go again. It's going to be a tough league again, League One, as it always is. Speaking of the lower leagues, there's another managerial departure which I completely forgot about. The big man, Big Duffy, not Shane. Jim Duffy has left Dumbarton after just about keeping them up in League One following the playoffs. Ex-Morton manager, now 62 years old. Whether or not he'll have another job, I'm not sure. But he said in his statement when he's standing down, a new challenge would suit both parties. Now, I've already heard Dunfermline fans putting his name about. I'm just going to say right now, stop. Just stop, all right? Just stop that right now. But again, he'll be linked with League One jobs, Championship jobs, McGinley, another vacancy that needs filled. But whether or not clubs continue to go with guys like him, I'm not sure. As you mentioned earlier about Inverness needing and Ross County looking for young managers, he might maybe, suffer because of that.
I think now the tide's sort of turning with all these new managers coming in. You're seeing less and less of these old guys in the league season by season. Seeing the young crowd pushing through, whether it be players that have just recently retired or even guys coming down from England like Mickey Mellon, which can only be good. It's good to see new faces in and around Scotland because it brings about a freshness and a new change for all the teams around the league. It'd be interesting to see where Dumbarton go next. I've got to say I don't really know a lot about Dumbarton or who they're in for, so I wouldn't be able to make an informed opinion or anything. But
Ewan Milligan saying play that clip back when Jim Duffy leads the Pars to Europe. That's a long way away. Paul Sheeran is favourite for the Falkirk job. I had heard that, obviously having left Aberdeen. Again, another manager's wanting to make his own way. Mark McGee and Jim Jeffries, all these usual names get linked with every job. Just another bit of news whilst we're on air. Motherwell have announced their summer departures, which is 27 players could be leaving Motherwell this summer, leaving them with a senior squad of only 14. That's first team on youth, but would leave them with only 14 senior players, Kieran, which is mad. We've sort of said a few times that obviously Graham Alexander's going to be judged on next season, and it sounds like he's very much going to have his own squad in place next season now.
I mean, Motherwell have always got this huge turnaround in players, and it's down to the contracts, and then they've not been able to afford to give longer than 2-year contracts and that. And there always seems to, I think it was maybe a problem a few years ago where they would get a good sort of momentum with a squad, and then half of them would be away, and they completely need to rebuild. But obviously they got it lucky with Turnbull getting about £3 million, just over £3 million for him half years. So I don't know. I think they'll be able to get a decent wee squad going next year. And I don't know where I really expect them to finish, because I mean they'll obviously have ambitions of being top 6 after the success they had this season, but the one before. The fans will want something a bit better, because it was a huge disappointment this season.
I mean, you're generally going to have about 10 teams next season though who will all think they should be in the top, including the big two. No. You might have Ross County will be happy to stay up again, I would have thought. But see, apart from that, you're probably looking at everybody trying to push for that top 6, which is pretty mad. There was a comment there I meant to highlight, and I've just completely lost it. Oh, yes, was it? DMM McDonald, Jim Duffy leaving so he can finally have that square goal with Neil Lennon. Be better than that shite YouTube boxing anyway. 100% would. That would be the pay-per-view numbers. That would be fantastic. Spunkphone, mate, you've missed it. We've already covered the Mickey Mellon stuff. You obviously were away, so just go back and you can hear our thoughts on Mickey Mellon. Kennedy's a big fan of the Motherwell overhaul, kidding on at their hearts. Looking at a couple of players that have left, Liam Polmarth and Sherwin Sadoff, as Lewis Led points out, with the two that came to mind. I would take Liam Polmarth and Filmon in a heartbeat. Quickly get your questions into the sort of chat before we round things off. We'll come on to Eddie Howe, because we have to. It's the law. It made me laugh last night when another exclusive Eddie Howe Edges Closest article came out from the Daily Record. Here's a question for you though, Ryan. How many more of those articles do you think we're going to see?
Hopefully not too many more. Hopefully it's done ideally tomorrow. It'd be a great date to do it on the 25th of May. We won the European Cup on the 25th of May. That'd be a good sort of starting point, sort of feel-good factor. I don't know if they want to improve their PR sort of skills, that'd be a perfect day to announce it. I'm hoping that this train comes to a halt and he can come to Celtic at long last. I feel like I've been talking about it for about 4 years. It's been 2 months that have been going on for 4 or 5 years, it feels like.
Yeah.
I just
91 days now, I think, since Lennon left. 91, I think.
That's mental. absolutely mental. It feels like the season's been done since then, and we've just been playing a procession from then until now. But time is of the essence. We've got Champions League qualifiers, which are going to be even more difficult because we're not in the Champions route this season.
Scott, let me tell you, I'm sick to death. I'm sick to death talking about it, Scott. I just can't wait for it to get announced as well. But Kieran, it's absolutely wild. It sounds like it's going to get done this week, finally. But Celtic have I think they've got to the stage now where this announcement this week, if they'd have done it a month ago, would have got fanfare galore. Everyone would have been absolutely buzzing. I'm a little bit unsure that will be the case. I think it'll be very much be now. Good, he's here, thank God, but get to work. It's kind of the day for a big fanfare celebration is kind of gone now.
I know. I think the buzz is probably wore off before he's even been announced. So it's just what you keep saying about these articles. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if this continued to drag on. But I mean, supposedly Don Mackay came out and says he wants everything wrapped up within the week. So hopefully he can actually get that achieved, and we can finally put all this rumours and talk to bed. So we can just finally try and trudge on and get a bit of the plans in place for next season, because it's going to be an absolute shit show if we don't. So
it's going to be mad. It's going to be mad. I think listen, it looks like it should get done this week. I hope it gets done quickly, so we're not in Euros mode and we're all of a sudden hit with an Eddie Howe announcement. That would be an absolute disaster. 1872 Jordan asks, how will the Scottish teams do in Europe next season? So who we've got Celtic, Rangers, Hibs, and Aberdeen are in Europe as well, aren't they? They'll be.
Aye. Aberdeen and Hibs have got the conference qualifiers, but St Johnstone going to the.
No, Hibs must have Europa League, no?
No, Scottish Cup winners got Europa League, I'm sure.
Oh wow, okay.
That's what made it all the more. That's what made it all the more important for the Scottish Cup final.
Educated I am. Listen, I think it's just good to see. I would love to see someone outside the old firm make it into the group stage. That would be good. But I suppose you two would just be hoping Celtic make it to the group stage this season as well.
As Ryan said, it's going to be really difficult for us this year, because anytime we are in the Champions League qualifiers, I mean, we've struggled the last 3 years in the Champions route, and I mean, it's getting easier for the team that wins the league now, and next year the team that wins the league will get straight into the group stages. I think that's unless the winner of next season's Champions League doesn't qualify through the real league. So I think if Chelsea were to go and win it next year, but they finished 5th, then we wouldn't get that. But I don't know. It's a pain that I just hate the thought of us having to play actual hard teams, because we struggle against the easy ones and the qualifiers. Celtic just love to make it difficult for themselves.
Oh, you going again, Lee?
Yeah. It's important that we win the first tie, because if we win the first qualifying round, which will be in the middle of July, we're straight into the Europa League group stages. So that would be guaranteed European football until after Christmas, which I think is, I mean, the teams that we could be playing in the rounds after that. Even in the first qualifying round, we can play some difficult teams, but some of the teams joining it are just disgusting. Like, it's some really big names like your PSVs and that. So it's going to be a nightmare, especially for a new manager coming in. That's your first sort of thing. And I know the way Celtic fans are like, if you don't win a European tie, you have to be sacked. So, I mean, it's going to be a nightmare. But
I've just gone and done a wee bit of research. There's a couple of people in the comments saying Hibs are in the Europa League, but actually the research I've done hasn't cleared up. I think you might be right, Kieran. I think that had Rangers won the cup, there would have been.
Aye, if Celtic or Rangers won, if one of the teams that's got the Champions League spot, then it would have went to 3rd place. But because I think St Johnstone I don't know if it's the case. I don't know if other things in Europe have moved it about, but it certainly was the case before the game that the winner of that goes into Europa League playoff.
Yeah,
and then if you lose that, you've got guaranteed Conference League group stage games anyway.
I heard pre-match in the final that was yet to be decided, but it looked likely. But it isn't mental. I mean, the fact we've now got 5 teams competing in Europe next season is fantastic. And it's clubs like Hibs, Aberdeen, St Johnstone are going to benefit from this Conference League. And that's going to be good to see. The money involved will obviously be a good thing. But yeah, I think that'll just about do us. Loosely, it's got every bit of information in the world, doesn't he? He's just fantastic, this young man. He knows the stuff. Dev's piping up with it, confirming it as well, because that man does his research. I don't. But yeah, fantastic. That's going to round us off. Game is due to kick off in just over an hour. I think the teams are out. Dundee are unchanged, which is good for them. But yeah, we'll catch you all later on. I think we're going to do. I don't know if we're podcasting tomorrow or on Wednesday. We're a little bit up in the air. The team are having a meeting tonight to discuss all the ideas we have for the Euro season and all the rest of it. But we will catch you later on this week with more live shows and probably podcasts. But until then, I've completely forgotten how you finish these lives. I've done it now. No worries. Right, catch you later. Cheerio.